So this is just a quick little video to show how I made it so that the fog lights turn on and off with the ignition instead of the headlights. Normally on actually most any vehicle, and including these Neons, the fog lights can turn on only when the low beam headlights are on. So you would pull your headlights on and then the fog lights would be controllable. And if you turn on your high beams, they would turn off. But I like running them as like driving lights, so that way they're on whenever the ignition is on. But obviously you still want the switch to work, not only because, well, I mean, it's there, but if one of the bulbs burns out, it's nice to be able to turn them off so you're not driving around with one bulb on, which looks silly. So the way I have it wired up now, when you turn on the ignition, you can turn them on, and now they'll come on automatically with the ignition system. And the way to do it is super easy. So, on the fog light switch, you've got a couple of wires here. The main one is this thick one that's purple with a white stripe. And don't be fooled. Normally thicker wires mean higher amperage, but not in this case. This is actually, it's the same thickness that's running out to the headlights. So Chrysler just used the same wire when they made the harness, and it ran all the way to the switch here. It is simply acting as a trigger. This whole thing is a trigger because there's another relay under the hood for the fog lights. So you pretty much you've got your ground, you've got your orange light to light up the little indicator here that goes hot when the parking lights are on. The trigger source, which was coming from the low beams, and then you've got like a constant power wire, which I believe is this one. I don't recall. And I can't think off the top of the head what that one is either. So basically what I'm doing is I've cut the headlight trigger here and just left it undone. Put a little tape around it, but for some reason I apparently forgot to do that. The only reason I recommend putting some tape around it is just because this wire is hot when the headlight low beam is on. And then what I did is I used just a little piece of thinner wire to make it a little easier. You could cut it a little further back and then do it and make it nice and clean. I took this little piece of white wire to extend it. I brought it around to this side. This is the rear defrost, and this white wire here has power when the ignition switch is on, so hot when ignition is on. And I simply tapped it in there. I just removed some of the sheathing without actually cutting the wire at all, and then you just kind of spread open the wires a little bit. I usually just use my test light to poke through the wires and spread up, make a little hole in the wires, and then feed the white wire through, wrap it around, and then obviously tape it up with electrical tape. And that way then, when this is hot with the ignition, it's simulating the hot on low beam, and then it will respond to your ignition instead of your low beams. Real simple, kind of a 5-minute thing, and then easy to deal with. I mean, if you needed to put it back, a simple butt connector can repair your connection, and then you can pull the wire out of your splice on the rear defrost side, tape it back up. And aside from the fact that there'd now be like a butt connector in there or something, I mean, the wiring is still stock. It doesn't hurt anything. And then you have your driving lights or daytime running lights, which, I mean, I like the way it looks, but on top of that, it is safer because I know about the cars that I don't see sometimes coming down the road, and if they had lights on, I would have been more likely to see them. So yeah, simple little swap for that.